Yeah, family, y'all. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight. Oh, right. Yeah. Here we go.
The origin of mass stipends. We started to talk about this briefly, but how intriguing a history we're going to have. So that we understand what a stipend is. A stipend is an offering by the faithful, meaning anyone who's not a priest. Anyone who's a priest can offer the Mass. So this is an offering made by someone who can't offer the Mass. So it's going to be an offering for the celebration of the Eucharist. So, Father Jamie, here's $5. I'd like you to say Mass for the repose of the soul of my grandmother. Okay, right? Where did the idea of stipends come from in the church? It's fascinating because it's a uniquely Western practice. The Eastern or Orthodox Catholic Church haven't had to worry about stipends to this day. It's in the Roman Church that we have this concept of paying for masses or charging for mass. How much does a mass cost? Right? We go back to offertory processions. So we know that in the 3rd century in North Africa, we had offertory processions back then, where we carried up to the altar the bread and the wine, and also we passed around a basket so that we could take up a collection to be able to help the needy. So far so good? 3rd century, we were bringing the bread and the wine and a collection for those in need to the altar. Seems innocent enough. By the 5th century, other gifts were added. So what happens now that we're taking up a collection, passing around the basket, but suddenly Terry says, y'all, I hope you don't mind, but instead of putting money into the basket, I brought 2 cows and 3 chickens to offer. Okay. So it was carrying to the altar the bread and the wine and a basket with all of our gifts. But now we have the bread, the wine, the basket, well, all of our gifts, plus Terry's livestock and whatever else she's bringing.
Chickens.
And not to be outdone, Janie says, you know what, I saw Terry brought something to church. I'm going to bring 3 bushels of wheat along to church as well and offer that. Oh no. What starts happening now? We start looking around and seeing what it is that everyone's bringing to Mass. And Becky says, well, if Terry brought the cows and the chickens, and if Janie brought the wheat, well, what can I bring to Mass? Well, maybe I'll bring some of the cloth that I wove this week and some apples and... So all of a sudden we have all of these individual offerings that are coming to the altar rather than our offering, which will support the needy. Where are we going with this idea, though, of everyone bringing individual gifts now to the altar? Because before it was all of us bringing our gifts together in this basket, and now suddenly there are individuals bringing their gifts to the altar. By the end of the 1st millennium, monetary gifts were being preferred over products of nature, which you can imagine, telling them, Janie, we love you, but the 2 bushels of wheat that you bring, if you bring me the 2 bushels of wheat, then I have to find something to do with them or to go sell them. Could you mind if we ask you if you can find some way to sell them during the week before you come to church and just bring us the money instead of the bushels of wheat? How's that, Janie? Right?
I guess I could.
I wonder if back then the priest got someone else to say that to Janie.
Sure. Right? So the focus shifted to the special interests of the offerer. So now that Janie has cashed in her bushels of wheat and has $53 in her hand, then she's coming and saying, Father Jamie, I cashed in the wheat. Here's $53. Do you mind saying a Mass for my grandmother? What's Father Jamie going to say? No? But the moment that Father Jamie says yes, what happens then? Suddenly there's the perception that because she offered money to the church and asked for a Mass, and Father Jamie said yes, that essentially what she just did was she paid for that Mass. Oh, there are going to be a lot of difficulties with that. Different theories. So in Italy, around Rome, in the Roman church, they conceived more of gifts more as no strings attached. So if Janie brings her gift to Father Jamie, thank you, Janie, thank you, thank you, thank you. But we know the gifts are no strings attached, right? Of course I'll pray for your grandmother. But when you give a gift, you don't expect anything in return. Otherwise it's not a gift, right? Were they thinking the same in other places in the Frankish territories, modern-day France? How interesting that in France today there's a saying, gift implies return gift. What does that mean? How are the French thinking of it? Father Jamie, here are $53. What am I getting in return? Gift implies return gift. We still continue to operate largely out of that sort of thinking, right? If you give me something, you're expecting something back, even if that something is only a mere thank you. Do you know what it's like when you give someone something and you don't even get a thank you back? Do you want to give it to them again? Gift implies return gift, right? There's a certain reciprocity. I gave you something, you didn't even say thank you. Right? So the French came up with saying gift implies return gift. And they saw it more as this exchange. So how it was that, if I give you a material gift, Janie gives Father Jamie a material gift, Father Jamie gives Janie a spiritual gift. How lovely was that? Right? But then what happens? Because Janie just gave Father Jamie that, but now other people are saying, and Cynthia's saying, wow, because Janie is going at breakfast on Sunday and telling Cynthia, I gave Father Jamie that and he said a mass for my grandmother. And Cynthia's thinking, well, that's nice. So suddenly what happens is we start this belief going of how it is that we start
I gave him the
paying
chair
for
to
mass.
sit on and he doesn't even say that.
So how interesting that this belief started arising of how it was, right? That it's almost like this exchange of gifts. I'll give you something, you give me something. And it crept into the church. The belief arose that you received more blessings if the priest offered Mass for your intention to the exclusion of others. Whew, think about that for a moment. So Jamie is sort of like implying here that with the $53 she just gave Father, she's expecting those 10 Masses that she just bought to be for her intention. When we gather at Mass, who are we praying for? Are we praying for the needs of the church and of the world? And offering the Mass for that? And for our needs? Or are we offering this Mass for Jamie's need? Wow. You see the theology that arises here? A theological difficulty. Because suddenly people are saying, and we've heard this before in some of the churches where I've been, right? That was supposed to be my Mass. I paid for that Mass. How interesting that dates back. That's an ancient practice in our church, dating back some 1,000 years. By the end of the first millennium, we had gotten into this practice of accepting money, and gift implies return gift, of telling people that we would say the Mass for their intention. The other development at that time was that priests were seen as acting in the name of the church, and the faithful were just participating as hearers. There was this whole, the faithful, in the early church, it was us gathering to break bread. By this time in the church, did I need y'all to break bread? I'll say the Mass on my own. You're all welcome to come and to hear Mass, right? To listen to Mass. Wasn't that the thing up until the 1960s for many of us, right? We just went to Mass and take along your rosary or something to do because Father's going to say Mass. And we're going to go hear Mass.